nice to meet you. Nice to meet you properly after we briefly met the other night over the telephone on the World Record podcast. Anyway, Alia, welcome to the Martin Talk Show. It's very nice to meet you. How are you this morning? How are things up in? You're in Glasgow, is that correct?
I'm in Falkirk. I'm kind of in the middle between Glasgow and Edinburgh, so I'm in the Falkirk area. Yeah. In Bonnybridge, where the UFOs are. But how are you? And it's lovely to meet you, Martin.
Yes, yeah. I'm just recovering after a hectic weekend. I'm just finally setting down. It was a mad one.
Well done.
Which I'm sure we'll get into it. But yeah, you mentioned there you're between Edinburgh and Glasgow, and you mentioned there the UFOs.
Bonnybridge. Yes.
Bonnybridge. I feel like I need to find out more about this. What happens at Bonnybridge? I don't know about this.
Many a UFO sighting. In fact, it's the UK's hotspot for UFOs, the big Falkirk Triangle. And William Shatner recently did an episode of The Unexplained on my little town. So
oh wow,
it was quite something.
And have you had any experiences yourself? Have you got any stories to tell?
Not me. My husband has, though. It's like one night
really?
The sky kind of lit up and there was something there. And there are lots of like photographs and things online. So we don't know. Could be aircrafts, could be anything, but anything is possible, I suppose.
Military testing, I guess, is another one, isn't it?
Possibly, yes.
And we're definitely in an age for the UFOs and UAPs, aren't we? There's lots happening at the moment around the world. Apparently there's some disclosure going to happen soon. Is what I hear.
Right.
Apparently Trump was promising to tell us what's all really going on. We'll wait to see. That was a promise pre the election. One of many I hear. So I discovered some of your work in being a Doctor Who fan. I stumbled across some of your audio stories, and wanted to know a little bit more about you and about how an actor gets into voiceover work. How does that happen?
I think it was an accident, really. I predominantly did sort of film and television and stuff like that, and lockdown happened, and I got bored. I got really bored, and I ended up joining this Doctor Who Amino. And there was a young lad, he's no longer with us, sadly, but his name was Harry Gosling. And he was doing these wee shorts. He says, "Could you play my doctor?" And I went, "Oh, okay, I'll help you out." You know, I believe in helping the younger generation out, and when they're just starting out in the creative genre. And it just went from there, to be honest. And then I got questions asked like, "Can you do Sarah Jane's voice? Can you do this?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I'll try," you know. And it just sort of happened. So yeah.
Wow, so you just sort of stumbled your way into it then.
Yeah.
It wasn't ever something that you set out to do as an actor. You didn't ever go, "Oh, I want to do this."
Well, I think it was somewhere buried when I was a kid. Like I loved animation. I always like kind of wanted to be part of that thing. And people had said, "You've got a great voice, use that." And I loved film as well, so I never really connected the two. And my dad works in audio as an audio engineer for the Beebs, so it's like it's kind of always been lurking in the background, that little whisper that Steven Spielberg talks about. So yes, listen to the whisper. You know, when we've got these, I know the moment you're talking about where he says in an interview, "You've got this. The dream doesn't shout at you; it whispers quietly." And I believe that too with what I'm doing now. I believe that everything else that I was doing has led me to what I'm discovering and doing now. And that might lead to something else next. But for now, it definitely feels like everything I was trying before has led to this. And so, yeah, all my past in acting, in producing, in directing, in writing, it's all led to now doing podcasting, which is strange, and I kind of, if I really think back, I kind of go like, yes, this was inevitable.
And it sounds like you've got that as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's wonderful that you've found that, because it can take a long time for people to stumble across what they were meant to do.
Yeah. Well, I'm 40, so I do feel like it took a while, you know. When you get to 40, you're like, a lot of people, you think, you look at others and you're like, oh, everyone's got their life figured out. Most of them haven't, is the truth. But you think, if for some reason you think when you're in your early 20s, for sure, you think, oh, by the time I'm 40, I'll know what I'm doing. But I didn't.
No, you took the long way round, as a Doctor Who fan would say. So.
Yes, I love that.
I most certainly did myself. It's like, I don't know, I mean, I've always loved acting, but I found with film, there was very little roles for women my age. Ones that they didn't spark interest in me, and I started to get a bit with it all. And as I say, when all these young people, budding audio makers, you know, who started out as in the fandom and wanted to create their own stuff, and I just thought, you know what, this is great fun. If nothing else, I'm staying busy, and you know, lockdown hopefully will fly. And I hadn't been able to do theatre because I was raising 2 kids, so it's, you know, it's one of those things. But yeah, wonderful.
Let's talk about fandom a little bit then, because fandom I feel like it's a fairly new thing that is going mainstream because of the internet. It's more, you know, fandom's probably always existed, but now it's very accessible, and some fandom is turning into mainstream things. Wicked jumps to mind. Not many people know that Wicked is fandom. Wicked was a piece of online content that was wrote by a blogger of a fan fiction prequel to The Wizard of Oz, and then turned into a stage play, and then a book, and then a film, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing, and it's a multi-million, billion-pound industry, all from fandom.
That's wonderful.
So yeah, fandom is an interesting place, and there's lots of characters at the moment that are coming out of copyright, and they're turning into fandom. And so, how did you find fandom and discover it? Was it just in this period of lockdown where it kind of came to you?
Yeah, I mean, I've always kind of liked looking at videos that people have put together from being like fans of Harry Potter or things like that, and you know, I thought they're very clever edits. Some of them are just wonderful edits, you know. But as I say, I stumbled on the Amino, thought, oh, I want to leave Facebook and talk to people who like the stuff I like, you know. I'm a bit of a geek, so I joined this, and it went from there to Twitter. We won't talk about that, please. It went from there, and connected with some of the similar people that were there, and just kind of word got out about it, and I just kind of gradually followed and saw what people were writing and doing, and some stories were absolutely fantastic. Maybe they didn't have the equipment, and gradually built that over time, but the scripts were great, the characters were great, and it was just good fun. It was a great release of stress during lockdown anyway. So
I can imagine. Yeah, that lockdown time was difficult for all of us. Yes. And us creatives that had been busy trying to achieve something or make something, we had to pause, and then we had to reassess, and it looks like you found something new.
Yeah.
Do you see that as a positive that came from that period of time?
Oh, absolutely, because it was like one of the kind of worst times, and having something to do like this was amazing. I hadn't worked in film for a while. Again, roles were very few and far between, cut spotlight out used because of it. And I just thought, you know, people who are trying to create their own work, all of them kind of came out in lockdown and just let go and aimed for something, just wanted to make and create things that were wonderful. It didn't matter that it started with Doctor Who. Some of them branched off and went and did other things, original stories, original audios, were brave enough to take that leap. Because when you do a fandom thing, usually you'll attract people because it says Doctor Who. So a leap to do something original is just a fantastic move. And it is brave. It's very brave. Yeah.
It is. That's it. That's very interesting that fandom can be a great place to lay your foundations as a creative then, isn't it? It can be that place that you can use the stories that you're familiar with, adjust them, tweak them in the ways that you would like, and then maybe lead you into something new.
Absolutely.
So you see that, do you? You see that happen a lot?
Absolutely. A lot of people say, I mean, some of the work I've done, most of it, I will say, has been unpaid. And there's been the odd paid thing come from it. You know, like people I've worked with have gone off to do other things and, you know, say, I'm in a position to actually do this professionally. So great things have come from it. And I never judge anybody by the fact that they're just starting out, because some of the greatest writers and filmmakers were all in that position at one point in their lives, you know.
Literally everyone.
Yes, absolutely.
Literally, unless you're born into an industry
and have a lot of them,
and have the finances there, which is 0.001%. Every single other creative person had to start somewhere. They had to practice. They had to fail a lot, and they had to keep trying. And I think it is also about those people that come up with you on that journey, that aren't just there at the moment of success. It's about the ones that were there in the moments of trying and struggling, that you can kind of like bring them along the way with you. Yes,
absolutely. A firm believer in that we're all in the same boat, we're sailing in the same direction. Why are people pulling in other directions and, you know, not helping other people out? And it's wonderful to see how many of them have grown as well. And they come back to you and say, thank you so much for either teaching me this, and it's humbling, and it's lovely, because I didn't have that. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know how to explain it. I have trouble putting things into words sometimes, but it's just a lovely feeling to see people come up through all of this, and all the originality that started either in a fandom and grew away from that. You know, it's lovely. It's just lovely.
Tell me a bit more about that feeling then, that feeling that we get when we help someone.
You've glitched.
Sorry? Were we glitching? We're glitching. Ooh, we're glitching here. The matrix is disrupted. Trying to reconnect. Bear with me.
Oh no.
Hello.
Oh yeah, hang on 2 seconds.
That's okay.
Yes, I have 2 rabbits, and I'm afraid one of them was destroying something. So
Well, it would seem my internet is really bad today because it's raining.
oh
So, you know, that disrupts the internet. Why? I don't know. But it even right, I've rebooted it and it's saying weak connection, and I have like over a gig of internet speed and should have like the top package, and it should be perfect. So it must be a problem with the system,
yeah.
right, in this area. So hopefully it's strong enough that we can continue. So apologies. If it goes again, we'll reschedule something when it's not raining.
Absolutely.
So where were we? We was having a discussion about how wonderful it is to help people when they're just starting out, when you've got these new writers that have been involved in fandom, and then they're branching out into their own things, into their own crafts, into their own creations, and it's just so nice to be a part of that. Can you think of a time that's really worked for you, that's helped you as an actor?
Well, I think finding, like, helping all these sort of, I wouldn't say students, but I'd say creatives, because that's generally the umbrella. It's opened my eyes to a new world. There's things I didn't know I could do before I did those things. Didn't know I could do an array of impressions, for example. And also it's helped me grow as an actor, because there's one skill I think you lose, though, when you don't interact with people often. and lockdown's one of those. And when you don't interact with people often, you tend to lose
Yes.
the ability to react, which is one of the most important fundamentals in acting, is you are reacting.
Hmm.
Acting isn't about you or the character you're playing, it's
Yes.
about how you respond to everyone around you. And,
Mm.
and I think when you're not doing it for a while, you sort of lose that, doing self-tapes and monologues.
Hmm.
So it's reinstilled that in me. And
Wonderful.
it's also, it can be lonely at times. Some
Hmm.
people do live recordings like this. They use, I think, Clearcast and Zencast, and they get us all together. Other times you're just recording your line but reading the person's line before you. So it's challenging at times, but yeah, there's plenty of growth in there.
Is there anything wrong with challenging? Like you just said there, there's growth within that challenge, isn't there? So.
Exactly,
But
absolutely.
that's a really wonderful point actually that reminisces a lot with me. It resonates is more the word. It resonates with me. That's one of the reasons why I kind of put acting to one side, why I kind of went I'm done with it because I found it to be it became very lonely and solitary acting. It became, yeah, like you say about the self tapes, where
Mm-hmm.
you just, I would stand in my shed with a camera and do 50 takes, and and half the time I couldn't figure out why isn't this working.
Mm-hmm.
It's because you haven't got that connection. It's because you can't reply, you can't respond to someone, you can't react to someone
Yes.
when you're doing a self tape. And so we lose that, don't we? And and it's an important skill to have that
Mm-hmm.
reaction as
Absolutely.
an actor, and that,
Absolutely.
that, that it says it's more about the listening acting than it is about the speaking.
Mm-hmm. Because if you don't
And it's
listen, you can't bring out the emotions you need to. You can't react
Mhm.
accordingly. And Meisner's a good one for teaching that. If you ever
Mm,
look at his studies, he's that
yes.
that reaction. It's got to come from an authentic place. And if you're not listening
Mm.
to what's being said, you're not going to react authentically, are you?
No, there's an energy flow.
Mm-hmm.
It's we give something, something comes back in return, and that energy can go up and down and round in circles, but it has to go somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, when you're alone doing these things as a performer, that energy just all on one line, or
Mm-hmm.
is forced, and we can see that forced acting, can't we?
Yes.
We can feel it, and that's when we're watching or listening to entertainment as a consumer of the entertainment, that's the last thing that we want, is
Mm-hmm.
to watch someone acting, is to watch someone forcing the emotions.
Yes. And one thing I noticed with social media is you see when you follow a lot of actors who do share like kind of self tapes, I've almost stopped doing it because I
Mm,
just feel it's so stale without somebody there. And I
mm,
feel that when agents are asking actors to do it, it's a great insult to an actor. I love audition. Well, I love the part of auditioning when you walk into a room and you meet people and you're bouncing your lines off someone else.
mhm.
And doing these things, having a small bedroom and doing a self tape to a very blank screen, it's neutral, but it's devoid of anything. And one day I just got really sick of it, and I went out and I did a self tape in the woods, and I thought
Nice.
because it was set, there was a scene set in an audition that I did for a film called The Haze, and it was set in the woods. I'm a forensic officer, and I went, I can't deal with people shouting at each other downstairs or, banging about, and kids, being very young toddlers and stuff like that. Right, I'm going out. See you later. Camera out. And the director loved it. He said, I loved the initiative you took. And only recently I found out Elijah Wood did the same thing for Frodo.
Oh,
So,
that's exactly what I was coming to. Yes, Elijah Wood. That was kind of pre self tapes even being a thing.
mhm,
That Elijah Wood he heard the auditions were happening. He heard that they wanted British actors only for that part. So he was like, they're not going to give it. I love Lord of the Rings, but they're not going to give it to me and give me an opportunity
mhm,
because I'm not British. I'm not on the sheet. I'm not what's being requested. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get dressed up. I'm going to go and sit under a tree, get my friend to record me reading a page of Lord of the Rings. And
Absolutely brilliant.
he leads the main part. You know, there's such an important message behind that, isn't there? There's something that we can all take from that as performers and actors is the not waiting for the part to be right or for them to want you. It's for you to want it and show you're capable. And to break the rules as well.
Yes, I
You
was
know,
just about to say
there's
that.
yeah, and there's so many actors that come to me and they say, "Oh, you're supposed to do a self-tape with a blue screen and a ring light, and the camera frame has to be this, this, and this." And the only person that works for is the casting director, so they can tick their box
Yeah.
and just see if you look right. I guarantee you, there's not a director in this world that wants that.
No. I was thinking the same thing, actually. I think I did a video on it a while ago, that if I was a casting director, if I was a director, and I have done directing before, but if I want to direct something, I want to see someone use initiative with that character. I want to see you be rebellious. The only way someone's going to stand out to me is if they are different. If I'm seeing the same blank screen constantly, I'm just going to switch off, you know. I've got
Yeah.
ADHD as it is, so I'm like, no.
When I,
You know.
well, when I say I think the only person it works for is the casting director, it's so that they can ask for 1,000 tapes and they can click on to see if you've got the right look, and then they can click off,
Yeah.
not to see your performance, to maybe just shortlist you into the ones that fit the brief. That's the only place that this works. But then it's like, what headshots are for?
Exactly. You've got five
You know?
5 seconds, 5 seconds to impress them in that video, and what are they going to see in 5 seconds? So yeah, I think it's a great insult to actors self-taping, and you really don't see what an actor's truly capable of at all. I find myself switching off because everybody looks the same. You know,
Yeah.
it's the same blank background, as I say. It's the same. I feel that, okay, you're not supposed to look down the barrel of a lens, right? That's intrusive. But I find people are looking off like that. I can't engage with them. I can't see what's going on. So look slightly there, and then I can see you. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. We're never
Yeah, we have to be. No, but we have to. I do think this is a moment that performers have to change the rules if they want to move ahead.
Yes.
If you want to do something, I'll say performers in whatever area of life you're in. If you want to do something special, you want to do something big, which most actors do, then yeah, breaking the rules is the only way.
Yeah,
It's the
absolutely.
it's the only way forward. And yeah, I don't do self tapes as requested anymore. I stopped that at lockdown. Okay, I am still on Spotlight. I do get the occasional audition thing comes through, and when they do, it's yeah, it's not how it's requested. I'll do the piece how it's requested, but I won't do the blue screen in the background and the ring light and the standing in my shed anymore because I did hundreds of those and not one of them landed me a role. So if something ain't working, you got to change it. And I don't hear it working for many. I don't hear it working for many at all.
It's restrictive, you know. It's like I found myself at one point. I did this wee Doctor Who thing for a friend of mine called Mark, and I had my kids' play tent because it was green shoved in behind me, sitting on the edge of my bed because my room was too small to really act. So I'm sitting there as if I'm talking to a computer, and it worked for that. It doesn't work for self taping at all. It really
No.
doesn't. So no.
So let's go back. Let's go back. We're moaning back a little bit about the industry at the moment. How we'd like to change things up, and it's important that we do change things up. But what I want to know from you is you talked a bit about you knew that you had this whisper when you were young. Let's go back to that. When was the moment for you that you were like, right, I'm going to be an actor. I'm going to be a performer. Where did that start?
I don't know 100% when it really started because I was an incredibly shy child. And I think I kind of did dance first. like sort of ballet and tap and things, just as kids do. But I was always one step behind the teacher. I couldn't, I really couldn't take in the information.
Yeah.
But I could dance, so it was just weird. I was just that one step behind. But I think it clicked on a sort of private level when The Little Mermaid came out. Because I was
Okay.
singing along to Disney, I was reenacting things, all in your bedroom, all to four walls.
Mhm.
And it didn't really hit me properly till high school because bullied kid, you're not going to want to stand up in front of anybody. So I took art
Mhm.
instead. Um, and I hid it away very much. And it wasn't till about fifth year, like I think I went to see something. Was it Les Mis or something, or Miss Saigon? It was one of those I went to see, and I thought, what am I doing? I want to do this. Yeah, I really want to do this. So I spoke to my first year drama teacher. Her name was Maggie Smith, funnily enough. Not the Maggie Smith, but
Not
Maggie
the.
Smith. And I asked her for a little help, and she said, listen, why don't you apply to, I know someone in Falkirk College, apply to Falkirk College. And it's now gone, it's Forth Valley now, but it's all levelled and new. And it just sort of, it kind of clicked there. And I think, I mean, I can piece little pieces together. It's kind of weird. When I was in primary school, do you remember Shakespeare's The Animated Tales?
No, no, I can't
No.
say.
Very abridged versions of Shakespeare, but the first time I ever
Oh,
heard it.
but possibly actually it does ring a bell. Where it's kind of slightly the animation wasn't fluid as such.
That's right.
Yeah, yes, yeah, I do remember. Yeah.
It was kind of sketchy, or it was di-
Sketchy. Yeah, that's.
different art styles. That was Hamlet, the sketchy one. There was a very
Mhm.
dark animation for Macbeth. There was puppets for The Tempest and things like that. And I remember falling in love with Shakespeare. So that was the earliest encounter I'd had with that. And then in high school, in about fifth year as well, not long after I'd seen the musical, I got bored with sort of study leave for exams, and I thought, Hamlet. I remember Hamlet, and I remember really
Mhm.
liking that. And I saw this collection of BBC audio tapes, and this was Kenneth Branagh. And
Mhm.
I listened and I listened and I listened. And again, that goes back to my drama teacher. I went and spoke to her, my first year drama teacher. I hadn't taken it after second year. So, and then I spoke to her, and she said, look, just pick a piece from Shakespeare and go for it. Just go. And I picked Ophelia. Oh, what a noble mind is here. I auditioned and got into Forth Valley College in 1998. So I think it hit me in 1997 that I really wanted to do this and I wasn't going to let it go.
Mhm.
So,
I recently had a moment where I got to speak to someone that gave me a very similar nudge, a mentor, a teacher that said, "Go do this and go for it," and that changed my direction for me. And the other night when I was doing this podcast thing where I was talking to lots of people, I got an opportunity to speak to him after 20 odd years. And it made me think, what would you say to that person if you got to speak to them now, that person that gave you the nudge in the right direction, that changed the course for you?
if I had to do that, I mean, I had something similar really recently.
Mhm.
Went through a phase where I felt very, very stuck. And a lot of actors do. But I'd given up so many times over the course of my life, raising kids, you give up, you come back, you give up again.
Mhm.
No actor is without that. We
No.
do we do give up a lot. And I thought I'm going to reach out to someone, and I reached out to my old college lecturer from Falkirk College, and I
Well,
said, "Hi, Bruce Adam. His name is Bruce Adam. He's a writer and playwright now." And I reached out to him, and I said, "I don't know if you, hi, Bruce. I don't know if you remember me, but I need a little bit of advice." And I wondered if he still taught because I was looking for a teacher more than anything. And he got back to me. He said, "Of course, I remember you." And he said, "You were very young and perhaps lacking a lot of confidence." And went into a few things. And then at the end of it, he said, "Please don't give up. Talent will out." And if I needed to speak to him, I could. And he signed off on it. So to me, we've never been kind of close, but he was the first person I could reach out to. And,
mhm.
it does change your life a little bit and make you
Mhm.
think.
When people give you that nudge, it actually gives you a lot of power, doesn't it? it gives you the confidence you need because, like you say, actors, performers, we do have these moments of giving up because we're lacking some self-confidence, and so we need someone else sometimes to go do this.
Yes.
Go on, go that way.
Well, someone that taught me that doesn't teach anymore, I don't think, because I can't seem to find him now. I hope he's still with us, but
Mm.
he is older. So he once said there is no such thing as confidence, only bravery. Confidence is an
Mm.
act. It's something that you put on. It's bravery that gets you where you need to go. So that's lovely.
Well, I like that. I like that because yeah, I have that self-talk thing where I go to myself, I can't do this.
Hmm.
I can't. I'm not capable of this. I had this the other day when I was doing that world record podcast. I said to myself in the morning, I went, "Oh dear." There is like I was in the shower and I was like, "No, this I can't do this. This is all going to go horribly wrong." And then I'm getting text messages from people saying like dropping out and things in the morning, and it's all looking like it could potentially go wrong. And I was like, no, no, no. And then I had to say to myself, yes, I'm going to do it anyway.
Hmm.
I'm going to do it even if I do fail.
And you
And
smashed
and
it.
yet and that I believe, yeah, doesn't come from confidence. Yeah, I believe you're right. I don't want to big myself up too much and say I'm brave, but bravery is that bit that went, I could fail, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's brave, yeah. So thank you for sort of telling me that. You know,
No worries
that's
at all. I think what you did was
that's a nice
amazing.
it's a nice little badge to wear every now and then. I was brave today.
A badge for bravery. I like that. I like that.
Yeah, yeah. Why not? Even doing this is quite brave, isn't it? Even doing, as performers, I know a lot of performers as well that don't want to do podcasting, that don't want to talk about their thoughts and their feelings and
Mm,
share that with the world and their opinions on things because it can be quite worrying and it can be a place of judgment
hmm.
to do something like this.
Yes.
So I think every single guest that goes on a podcast is brave.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
you're right. It's not the confidence, it's the bravery because, you know, as an actor, we do know that you can be judged and that a potential new employer may or may not employ you based on your views.
Exactly. And I was terrified when you said, when you wanted to interview me, I was like,
Mhm.
this. I've done it with a friend, a couple of friends before, people I kind of knew through social media, but not like
Mhm.
this. So,
Mhm.
it's very different, and I'm like, I'm absolutely crapping it. You know?
But you're doing it anyway.
Yes.
There you go. You get a bravery badge as well today. So
Thank you.
we both get one. So we can share the bravery badge.
Spread a bit of
No, that's
Dougie.
it. Yeah. We love a bit of Dougie. I had a friend looking after a friend's young child the other day, and I discovered Dougie for the first time, and I was like, "Oh, this is quite good. I'll go and watch another episode."
I think it's aimed at adults secretly. It's some great adult
Yes,
humor in
yeah.
there.
And there's another one that I've been told to watch as well. Is it Bluey?
Yes,
Is that
Bluey.
another one? Mm.
Yeah,
I've
it's a
heard
lot.
Bluey's one I need to check out.
It's brilliant. It's got a lot of adult themes underlying. You just get it if you're a grown up. So you can
Mm,
actually sit and watch these, unlike Peppa Pig. Let's not go
mm.
there.
You see, because my daughter, she's 16 now, but she loved Peppa Pig, and I remember thinking, what a brat. That is a that is not a role model
No.
for kids. Like tantrums all the time, getting their own way,
Hmm.
and I was like, oh. But they loved it, you
And Daddy Pig's a narcissist.
know. Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Oh, it's
There's
awful.
some subliminal messaging going on there for sure in that one.
Yeah.
But then you think of that this takes me back to your voiceover over work, the success of the actors involved with Peppa Pig.
Hmm.
They're kind of living the dream as a voiceover artist if you land a job like that.
Exactly.
Um, So what is the dream for you then? What does that look like?
The dream for me is that I never aim for fame. It's just a silly idea, fame. But for me, I don't think I could handle that. It would be to keep working, keep doing it, make a living out of doing something that you love. So if I landed a series, for example, I'd be over the moon. I'd absolutely love it, particularly animation, or if I ended up in video games. Now, my eldest daughter, she's 17, and she's just got into uni for game development. So I'm wishing her all the best of luck with that. So if I could work in video games, I'd be over the moon, pending they sort the contracts out. So I hate AI.
Yeah, video games is an expanding market. It has been for years, but I believe it's now kind of taking over. Financially, it's taking over Hollywood.
Yes.
The space there for the income that's generated through computer games. Um, on an entertainment level, I'm not too sure, but obviously there is a generation out there that are obsessed with them. I know my son. He loves his PlayStation and plays on that 10 times more than he does spending watching TV or consuming other medias.
Hmm.
It is a There is a generation out there that are growing up with that as that is the mainstream. So for performers to move into that
Hmm.
is an interesting, exciting space, I think. So
Absolutely.
have you had any experience with that at all?
No, I've done some kind of animations for somebody who does do video games and things, or has worked in animation for video game, and it's just been independent Doctor Who things. It's been an audio with Daleks and things. It was absolutely fantastic. His name's Chris Clark, and it was just wonderful. So it showed me a potential of being able to be in a video game. And what I see most about video games is it does amalgamate all the things I used to do in the past. Something very physical, with motion capture and also using your voice. But you're not necessarily having to appear on camera, because I became very camera shy. So,
Right.
yeah. But I think there's a lot to learn doing video games, and it's certainly a wonderful genre to aim for, Absolutely.
That's interesting, isn't it? As a performer, that you can be camera shy. You
Well,
wouldn't guess that at all. You wouldn't think that from meeting you today. I wouldn't have said that about you at all. You come across as I'm going to use that word that we discovered was the wrong word, confident. But I was gonna say that you seem very confident on camera. But I think that's important to talk about that we're not as performers, we're not necessarily right for all of these medias of performing. We don't necessarily all want to be movie stars.
no, I mean, I love film, don't get me wrong, but I felt years ago, I think I was sort of put off by being micromanaged by a director. It was like once I was told how to fold my arms. Like literally, I could only fold them in one way, being built the way I'm built. And it's like, I think it became more, now to be a good actor, you shouldn't worry about what you look like in front of the camera. But I began to start worrying about it, because I was casting a lot of roles, like very two-dimensional mummy type roles, and I'm like, I do this at home. I don't want to do this on screen. There's so much more in here. So when I found audio, all that changed. I was playing all the roles that I would never be considered for visually. And that, to me, when that started taking over, I started to get even more camera shy. And when I was looking at Spotlight, and I was looking at the age that they would cast up to was 39 for women, and the guys in the same family as a couple, the guy could be up to 60. I'm like, that's my dad's kind of age group. What? So it just went nuts for me, and I just thought, I started to get, I will be honest, very self-conscious by it. And it's a hurdle that hopefully someday I will jump, because I do miss doing film and I miss that interaction. But right now I'm a head and shoulders kind of gal. So it's like, as long as I'm in a box, I'm okay, but yeah, I do miss it. a bit. Yeah.
What advice would you give to other actors out there then that are having that same struggle, that they're looking on the casting websites and they're going, none of this suits me, none of this fits me, none of this works for me, and they're thinking, I'm just going to give up.
There,
Why?
there are two things. One, keep going. Don't give up. Keep going. And two, if the work isn't there, make your own work.
Mhm.
Find people, collaborate, make your own work. Because, well, as I say, Spotlight, it's sad. I mean, I'm with Equity, and Equity are fighting a battle with Spotlight at the moment.
Mm.
It was very elitist, and the
Oh,
cost
well, it's elitist
cost
just
of it.
down to the point that you have to pay for
Yes,
Spotlight. That what other industry do you have a skill and a trade that to apply for jobs you have to be able to afford £250 a year
yes.
to apply for jobs within your industry?
Uh-huh. And there's very little of those jobs coming. I got more work through social media, and through Equity, it says the tax on hope. They want to end the tax on hope. So they want to stop us having to pay for things like Spotlight. Spotlight should be charging production companies, not the actors.
Mm.
So I just took a stand at it, and this is another way of being brave, and I cut it off. I just went,
Mm.
if it takes it, I'm finding my own work, or I'm going to, I'm building up my own reputation by working damn hard, even on unpaid projects, so that someday it does come back. My reputation sells me, and it has done so far, and I'm so grateful for it. Absolutely grateful for
Mm.
it. You know.
Yeah, you're proof that we don't necessarily need these things, that we don't, you know, it's good. Maybe it's a nice starting point to put yourself in the club, but
Mm.
of the spotlight club. But we can come out. There is a world outside of that, and if I think about it, I've paid for Spotlight for the past year, and it's not just that stuff hasn't come to me through Spotlight. I look on there occasionally, and there's nothing that suits me as an actor.
Mhm.
There's nothing that suits me in that ticks all my boxes of a middle-aged white male. Um, and then there's nothing that suits me as what I'm looking for as a performer. And I don't want that as a performer at this point in my life as well. The other thing is I don't want to be one of those performers that is just a puppet of someone else's thing.
Mhm. Exactly.
Do you get that at all at this point in your career?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's a hard way to describe it. As I say, trouble putting things in words. But I know, I kind of know what you're getting at with it. And I do struggle with it, to be honest. I struggle with being pigeonholed a lot as well. I don't know if you feel that.
Yes, yeah, because we're
Um,
more than that. Because we're more than these little boxes on a casting sheet.
yeah.
We're more than that. Like you said, there's so much more going on in here
Hmm.
than just what you can physically see. And I think that's the whole point of us being actors is that we reach out into other places other than just being dad, other than just being mum.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely.
we're so much more than that as performers.
Exactly, and when I added up all the costs of paying for things like Spotlight, which I never saw anything come. I actually had something sent to me for a bearded gentleman in their 40s. I'm like, that does not match my criteria. Let me check this stuff again. No, I don't have that ticked. So last thing I checked. But I found that when I added it up over the years for how long I've been with Spotlight and IMDb and everything else, £7,000 I've spent out. 7,000,
Mm.
and not a
Easy.
penny has come from that. So,
No. So change the game, break the rules, is what we're saying, isn't it?
exactly.
It doesn't. Yeah. I know one actor that does well through Spotlight, and her thing is she has some unique skills that are
Mhm.
quite hard to find. She has she's a great actress, and she has some unique skills, and I'm talking about like things like circus skills and stuff that just goes beyond what you would learn in drama school, let's say. Um, and at a very young age, she's learnt all of these skills. and so it works. That place kind of is working for her.
Hmm.
But I think that performer that comes out of drama school, and that person that studied acting and wants to act, perform, sing, dance, those kind of things, even what you call like a triple threat, it's not really you're one of hundreds of thousands
Yes,
if you're a triple threat.
exactly.
You know. So yeah, those spaces, those spotlights, those casting websites. Yeah, I don't think that's where the magic happens.
No, it's get out
I
and
don't
do
think
it.
that.
It's
Mm,
a case of just get out and do it. Go and, you know, network with people. I'm not very good socially, I'll be honest. Like if you put me in a
mhm.
room of crowded people, sensory nightmare, right? So
Yes, yeah.
it's like I want to socialize, I want to do it, I love people. But then it's everything going on at once. I get awful awkward and can't talk very well. So social networking did help there. That's the one
Hmm.
plus, the one bonus about it was being able to find like-minded people and be able to create things together. And okay, it starts off with no money and eventually builds up to something where someone says, "Oh, they've heard you can do this. I would love. How much would you charge for doing an audiobook?" And I went, "I really don't know. We'll need to come to some budget agreement." So
Hmm.
that's how it. You have to just get out and make the work or find the work. These websites
Yeah.
aren't going to suit everybody at all. So
That's an interesting thing, the money. If you're doing any of this for chasing the money,
yeah.
then you're doing it for the wrong reasons. If you can't do it for free, if you know, I've done amateur dramatics on the stage for all my life, and I think I always will do. I have a love for it, you know, even when I'm a multimillionaire, I'm still going to come back to that space of not being paid for my craft amongst other people that aren't being paid for their craft,
Hmm.
other people that are creating purely for love, purely for the passion of it, purely for the fun and excitement, because that is payment enough.
Absolutely.
Yes, yes, we need to pay our bills. And yes, it would be lovely to pay our bills from the money from the craft. But having that as the reason why is when I think when we stumble and when we fall and
Absolutely. I couldn't say it any better because it's like I know people. I even went to a class where the teacher had basically said to me, "You've got to be honest with yourself. You're in it for the money." I'm like, "No, I'm not." You know, if I
Mhm,
couldn't act, I think it would tear me apart. I'm going to be honest. I faced some of the most horrible feelings and times in my life when I didn't. And when I
mhm,
gave up on it and was working in shops and jobs that would kill me. You only reason you want to make money is so that you can sustain yourself doing what you love. It's not
mhm,
it's not doing the acting to make the money. It's yeah, it's great to have the money to pay your bills, doing what you love and not being stuck in a shop doing things that tear you apart or a job that slowly kills you, as
mhm.
Radiohead would say. But it's for me, it's like I can't imagine not doing it. It's
Mhm.
in my mind when I wake up in the morning that I want to do something
So
for
how
myself.
have you managed to keep this going then? How have you managed to do the fan fiction and the unpaid work? How have you managed to support yourself? And you've got even though you mentioned you've got family as well there to
Hmm.
support. So how has that worked for you?
It's been hard. I mean, my husband's basically the main supporter in the family, and
Mm.
it's been so difficult. I tried painting, I have an art page, I tried to sell my paintings, and I was lucky a couple of times I did get commissioned to do stuff, and, and even for a theatre show, I got commissioned to do the poster for one. So, and it was from a canvas painting, which they own, and it's just I don't know. I tried like way back, made clay owls in a company. I think it's still on Facebook called Just for Hoots, where I made these little clay owls, and they were like a mistake of things. And people would commission me. Say somebody liked Supernatural, they commissioned me to make Castiel, and I made
Mhm.
Casti Owl. So it was all full of terrible puns, and it's just a case of scraping by, and then the odd paid thing will come along.
Mm.
But it's hard. It is difficult. I
Mm.
I don't think I've
Yeah.
had a new wardrobe in like 6 years. So there's holes in everything.
So there's sacrifice to this thing that we pursuing the things that we love, isn't there? There's, like you say, it, it- you might have to go without a new wardrobe, without some new shoes,
exactly.
to and I guess that really does show you. Do you really want this? you know and I think that's an important message for the younger actors. Do you really want a life with, my trainers are 2 years old now, and I know a lot of teenagers that wouldn't accept trainers after 6 months. They'd want to throw them out and get some new ones.
Mm.
My daughter, for instance, would not like that idea. And a lot, that's most teenagers, isn't it? So do you want a life of, yet sacrifices financially, and like you say, you have to try lots of different things to bring in the income.
Mhm.
The main craft might not be the only craft to bring in an income. Do you want a life where other people have to support you? And that's wonderful that you're in a place where you do have that as well. That you do have, like you say, your husband can help you pursue this.
He's been very
I think that's
supportive.
really. Mm. I think that's really important to acknowledge the people that are around us, that if it wasn't for them, then maybe we couldn't pursue this.
Exactly. I mean, it is. I won't lie. It's difficult. There's times in my own head where I'll be like, "Oh, I wish I was bringing in the money. I wish I was doing this. I feel like I'm not contributing enough."
Mhm.
And it is hard. It's very difficult. And he's also creative, so he understands. He's got a band called the Guillotines. So they're a Glasgow band. They're a punk band, and so he's got his fair share of creativity there as well. So it helps to have someone who is creative understand what it means to you. I mean, this is my
Mm.
life. I wouldn't change it, even though there's struggle and battles and internal struggles and external struggles. I wouldn't change what I want to do. I've tried giving
Mhm.
up. That didn't work. I was miserable. I'd rather be miserable doing it than miserable not doing it. So,
Mm.
yeah, it's
Yeah. And maybe that's okay to sit in that for a moment, then the giving up, because I've done it as well.
Mhm.
I've done it plenty of times that I just, yeah, just, I can't do the sacrifices anymore. I can't do the failures anymore. And so, yeah, I've sat in that place a few times of being like, no, I'm done. I'm done with this creative life. But But then once I do say that, and even if it lasts a week or 2 weeks, I then start to realize, no, this is who I am.
Mhm. Yes.
And I guess if you give up and you move on and you don't feel that, then maybe you were looking for the wrong things within it. Because if we go to the mainstream media, that would like to tell us that if you live a creative life, you're going to be a multimillionaire and you're going to have rich, everything's going to be handed to you and you're going to have the perfect life.
Mm.
And that's not the reality.
Not at all. You find out just how bad those people's lives are sometimes. There's things that come out
Mm,
years later and they really struggled through it. They're kind of, I would say, molded into people they were not and have never been. Their personalities made to look like they weren't because of stardom and stuff. It's a very miserable life for some people. So I'd rather have the humble thing, doing what I love doing. And, I think I've heard a few actors like way up high say this same thing about failure. Be prepared
mm.
to fail. Be prepared to fall flat on your face because the lessons you learn from failing are what set you up to keep going. So, you know,
Yeah, yeah, that's beautiful. Really, that's just such a strong message there within the failures to to keep us going. And yeah, and if you do sit in the failure and you don't move forward with it, yeah, that's where I believe that wasn't the thing for you. That
absolutely.
wasn't, that's your moment of realizing maybe I should just work in a shop. Maybe I should just be an accountant you know, if you didn't like it,
Hmm.
because you can have a life of doing normal jobs, normal work that's needed.
Hmm.
And this society, we couldn't just all be creatives, could we?
No.
We can all be in the entertainment industry. So maybe there's a different space for you outside of this. But it sounds to me like you have discovered yourself within. all these struggles,
Mm-hmm.
that you now are at a place where you know exactly who you are and you're comfortable with this,
Mm-hmm.
and that your career is still through that being comfortable, it's still continuing to grow.
Absolutely. I mean, as you say, if you feel that you're destined for another life or whatever, and you get on with it fine, and you never look back, then that's it. But
Mm.
if there's something that constantly keeps pulling you back in, you give up and it pulls you back in, or you get that feeling when you go to see a theatre show. That could be me. I want to do that. I've always wanted to do that. What am I doing? you know, when that happens, you know that it's going to keep doing it. No matter how many
Mm.
times you give up, it's going to keep pulling you back in. So why give up? Even if it's hard, keep
Go
going.
for it.
Just go for it. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, this has been a wonderful conversation. I really do truly appreciate you for joining and sharing with me. Just a note to wrap this up on then. We have touched on this a little bit previously, kind of like the advice for performers moving forward with their career,
Mhm.
but specifically within voice acting. I personally have never done any voice acting. Where should I start?
Well, definitely, I would say start off small. Record little things, just start on your phone, see how you get on. That's how I started my phone.
Mm.
And then build things up. I would definitely say invest in good mics. I've got a Rode NT1A, quietest one in the industry. You want a nice place where you can have the noise dampened. I'm not talking about build a studio, start under a duvet. I did that. Practice, experiment. Don't be afraid again to fail, because you're going to make mistakes. You're going to screw up. You're going to not sound so great. You're going to sound over the top. You're going to sound under. It is just practice, and also really play with it. Just experiment with your voice. Listen to other people as well. Listen to what they do. If you're into doing impressions and accents, listen to accents. Go and listen to real people speaking and absorb it like a sponge. It is exactly like most people believe voice actors just sit still and behind a mic like this. We don't. We're very expressive. It's like you are in theatre. It's like you are in film and television. You just have to learn one thing: mic technique, where to be near the mic so you're not plosives, and learn all those things. Build your skills. Do exactly what you would do in any can't even talk now. any any part of this industry. It's all about practice. So yeah, and honing in on it.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing. And I think you're better at speaking and talking and sharing than you think you are.
Oh, thank you.
And I really do appreciate it. Like I say, we both get a bravery award today, me and you.
Imaginary
And
badges.
imaginary badges, we'll pop them there. And if someone wants to find more of your work, like I say, I stumbled across your stuff. Where do people go and find out the fandom that you're involved with, and
um,
that you specifically?
Well, I'm on Instagram. It's probably the only one I really still use at the moment. And I'm on Blue Sky just because I just opened that. So Instagram's just Alia E Torrie, and you'll find me, actress Alia E Torrie, actress. And I always put up links or things to the stuff I work on. If you go on YouTube, you'll find me. I don't have my own. I kind of do have my own channel, but no content. You'll find me in other people's pages and things if you just look up my name. So I'm there. YouTube.
Wonderful. Well, thanks again, Aaliyah. And
Thank you.
if anyone has been watching or listening, we appreciate you for joining us for this conversation.
And thank you for
Thank you.
having me. It's been an absolute pleasure talking with you.
No, thank you.
Okay.
Bye bye.
You take care. Bye bye.